Okay, so Scum and Villainy. I will tell you that I have spent the last 4 weeks being alternately panicky and
I get it.
intimidated by this game. Um, I am. It's been a while since I've had to GM something where I'm still kind of working out the system and stuff like that. So I will be relying on people to call out and saying, shouldn't I be rolling here? Or wasn't there some sort of rule about doing what I'm about to do? Or can we visit the crafting section in page 280 or whatever? Looking at Mike, looking primarily at Mike, since he's actually played a cousin of this game at some point. So that's kind of good. So let's kind of pull that out. I think what we're going to do first before we jump into the action, as it were, is kind of make sure that we've got the characters all sort of squirreled away and the ship squirreled away, and we've got everything kind of finished with regards to all that. Bay Campbell. Hi, Bay.
Yes, sir. Right here.
You have theme music. A tune, sway, scrabble. All right, so Bay, alias K. I like that. Heritage is imperial background. We don't have a thing like drives or beliefs. That's not like encoded on the character sheet, is it?
Not written down, but it is part of how you level up.
So that's what I was curious about because I was looking at like, have you pursued your beliefs during the thing? I'm like, where do you write beliefs? Is this like?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, we make them up as we go.
So I'm going to go through a little bit and kind of at least ask that question to see if we have. You don't have to have an answer for that, but if I look at, okay, just going to kind of go down through here and see if I have any extra questions about Bay here, since Bay's new. Imperial background, an impoverished noble, got her entree to the Collude Academy. Is Collude inside the I'm going to keep saying cluster, but I mean the sector. Are they in the cluster or are they the Collude Academy, or did they like get their degree? Did Bay get her degree?
It's on one of the planets.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on one of the planets in the system.
All right.
It's yeah. I mean, it's basically one of the main things about that particular planet that's described.
I'm still nailing down all of the
Shemaya.
Shemaya. Is that the desert?
In Breck. Yes, desert planet, electrical storms, substantial civilian population, including the sector's preeminent educational institution, Collude Academy.
Very nice. Okay.
2 tech, 2 wealth, and 1 syndicate.
Oh, right. Yeah, the little stat thing. Which at some point in time, I'm going to actually, I don't know. I'm getting there. The problem that I've had, and I go in these like rushes back and forth with the content in the book because some of the stuff is really hard for me. Like I really have trouble kind of focusing through and reading it, and the other stuff I just devour. But I feel like I don't know. I think if I had it to do over again, I'd probably be a little bit more aggressive about it, saying no. I'm gonna read it in the order I want to read it in, and not in the order that it's being presented in, because it's the way it's presented is not actually helpful to me, and I actually have a lot of problems with like the choices that were made as far as that went. So
yes.
Oh, that's a good picture for Monster. I like it. All right, so sticking with Bay or K here for a second. We've got our study, our scramble, our skulk, our attune, our sway, very nice. Never tell me the odds, lovely. Generating gamuts on desperate rolls. Your crew stats, your crew starts with a +1 gamut.
One of my favorite lines in the description for the scoundrel is that that you rely on your luck and your coworkers to get you out of the trouble you get into because of all of your
very nice
crazy shenanigans.
All right, the info broker is the one who tends to trade information on you. You got your smuggler. And again, it's, take XP if you express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. And we talk about the heritage and the background, but the beliefs and the drives are kind of just out there. Now, I feel like drives to a certain extent, in your case, is like pursuing the way artifacts and the precursor artifacts and that sort of stuff. So, is that a fair assessment of Kay's sort of drive?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So there's these two things here where you can get XP for expressing your drives and beliefs, neither of which are actually encoded on the character sheet. Would it be fair to say that the drives for Bay are kind of along the lines of learning about the way or unearthing precursor artifacts, that kind of stuff? Is that a fair?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the description that I had in when Dave and I were talking about it is, it's sort of more. I'm not that the hegemony,
Hegemony,
the cults and the hegemony are sort of in it for the power that the artifacts represent.
Right, and you're in it for.
And I'm
Go ahead.
For the history, for understanding these people.
Right.
And what they were.
If I had to guess at your sort of beliefs / drives, I would say the drive is, find this stuff, unearth this stuff, locate this stuff, and the belief would be something along the lines of information wants to be free or something. Because that was another bit of what you were writing, what David shared out that you guys had worked up that kind of jumped out at me. It was like, if I find this stuff, I want to, like, either that's I'm broadcasting it to, the system saying, look, we've found this thing. Everybody needs to know about this before it's like put under wraps, and I'm going to distribute it anonymously and let everybody sort it out.
And one of the reasons why I don't have as much heat as I might have if I was as strictly a treasure hunter is because I actually am not focusing on treasure. I'm looking for, the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Right.
So I will actually often be in places that are considered picked over because they're looking for.
Yeah, you're looking for the stuff that they're not looking for. Right. Yeah. Cool. And then you got to publish or die, or in this case, publish or be silenced. All right. I'm mostly asking because I want to make sure when we talk about the beliefs and drives thing. And honestly, it says you express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. It sounds like if you can hit any of those, pick up an XP. So it's not hard. You struggled with issues from your vice or traumas, and your vice is you picked up 2. Yay. Seeking artifacts. I mean, I do like the one of the overindulged things is, we just lost track of them for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then they're back.
So it's a kind of specialized version of Shopaholic, I kind of relate it back to Dave's inability to walk past printed matter. It's like,
well, it could be that. It could also be like, where'd you go? Well, you guys were working on the ship and it didn't sound like it was going to be fixed for a while. So I just got a commercial liner over to this other planet and looked at some stuff and figured I'd be back. We need to all remember that the mechanic and the mystic are still playable characters, because there could be a situation here where they become sort of like the characters that you've got to like jump in and play because your other dude is missing again. So, all right, that's cool. Very cool. Anybody have any questions about the character?
I just pushed out to the Roll20 chat some comments on that whole beliefs and drives thing from kind of further back in the material.
Oh, thank you.
In the rule book, which is basically kind of let that come out during the course of this session.
I want to have a general idea. I mean, I don't care if people change it. I don't care if people go. I don't know, but I'm going to ask ahead of time to go.
Does it feel like Dave? Yeah, Dave did a really great thing. It's like because of course, we watched Indiana Jones and a few other things in preparation for my character.
The
And
Mummy. Anyway,
yeah, James wanted to watch it, but Dave felt we'd watched it too recently. So James and Maya have to watch it sometime when Dave's not around. But one of the things he did is he kind of put together a list of questions for me. Yeah, that were sort of in line with that. It's like, artifacts more than life? Would you
yeah,
bazooka the artifact?
nice. Yeah,
You know,
no, that's a good.
and
That's
so we
great.
sort of talk through some of the boundaries of the character.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, I am going to jump down to. Oh my God, I got to get this somewhat organized here. Is that Sean or Sion? I feel like there's a pun in that Stitch's name that I'm not catching.
No, it's a different thing.
Right. Sion Bialdio?
It's yeah, Sion
All right.
around there.
Heritage, colonist, background, academic. I love the vice of stupor. I've got drugs and I'm not afraid to use them. On me. Doctor, study, scramble, scrap, skulk, sway. This is somebody who definitely hangs out with some shady characters, it seems like.
Well,
Skulk and
he's
scrap and
since he left uh the more civilized world of Nightfall and has been kind of on the run, he's picked up some skills as
and
he
some
hopped
bad
from
habits.
planet to planet.
Nice. You may doctor someone during a job to allow them to ignore the effects of a harm penalty. Very nice. You can push yourself to roll your doctor rating. I'm a doctor, not a mechanic. That may be useful because I'm not sure anybody has rig in this entire setup.
I got rig too.
Yeah, you're going to be piloting.
You're rigatoni?
I don't know if you saw Tailspin, but putting a crowbar into the steering wheel and going out to the engines is a thing.
Yeah.
Fly this! What do you mean fly? Yeah, I think people are going to be. I mean, there's certainly the ability to pick up skills as we go, and there may be a little bit of that happening as well. I want to see Armin up to his elbows in the ship's engines, like with like some sort of like tablet computer projecting like a schematic that he keeps squinting at. Going, he's watching like the space.
I want to see that too.
He's watching like a 5-minute space YouTube video on how to fit. This is really simple to change the catalytic converter. Meanwhile, there's explosions going off outside. He's trying to squint at this thing while he's, copying the thing, and the video keeps buffering. And I don't know. Certainly something to keep in the back of the mind, the beliefs and drives thing. That's cool. I like all this. All right. Cool. Is it Ganlone? Ganlone?
It's Ganlone.
Drifter. Oh, look at your rig. Oh my God, see, it's very interesting to compare this to like the Stitch, where it's like one, skillet one, and you're like, no.
I don't think that's right.
You don't think what's right?
I thought the book said you couldn't have any things at 3 at the start of the game.
I'm not sure.
I believe that's correct.
It shouldn't be a 3. What's that bar in the middle for then?
Oh, okay. So
does that look right?
It looks
yes.
right. It looks righter. Rig might be
okay.
a 1.
So yeah, I don't know what's going on. So it should be I should have a total of 7. 4 of those coming from the playbook, and then 3 more allocated by me.
There you go.
You wrote up 2 helm, 2 rig, 2 scrap, and 1 skull.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, the bar is, so what it does is it looks at it and goes, okay, it counts that. So what you do when you want to see what your prowess is you look at just the pips on the left side of the bar. Does that make sense? So your prowess is a 3, your insight is a 1, your resolve is nothing.
Okay, so rolling helm gave me 2 dice, so that looks correct.
Yep, that is correct. Yep. So yeah, it was a little weird. But good. So compact wire Asian Heritage open boy's face. We got our scrap. We got our rig. We got our skulk. He's sneaky. Ace pilot. Keen eye. Sharp eyes and knows small details you might overlook. Game 1D when firing ship guns or making trick shots of any kind. Yay. Potency in all speed related rolls. I'll have to look at page 28 and remind myself what potency is, but basically, no, I like because it's the one time it's ever explained in the book, but it's basically like you get increased effect.
It's how effective your thing is.
Yeah. So if your thing would be standard effect, it goes up to great for the purposes of speed related thingy. So when you roll to resist the consequences of piloting, gain 1d. That immediately makes me think of going on the juice from The Expanse and trying to survive the 12G burns and stuff like that. The first thing I think of. I did just, okay. Triv, a ship mechanic, Choss, a professional racer. Just so you know, Bill, down in the NPCs, I do have a Triv and a Choss thing. Feel free to change those graphics. I did
see, yes.
So feel free if you prefer anything else, whatever else. Oh, that's the other thing I didn't do. Let me look back at K here real quick. If it'll come up. Here we go. And okay, that was the info broker and Rin the smuggler. I need to get like, I've got a lot of NPCs down here. I tried to get most of the ship NPCs sort of represented, and then like at least they don't like you and they like you or you like them, like NPCs for the players. But I don't think I don't have Margie and James's yet.
And I will probably go ahead and modify what
By
you
all
have
means.
is fine, but I'll probably go in and modify them because I obviously have some pictures in my head.
Yes, by all means.
So many pictures.
I would like to have the same pictures in my head that you have in your head as much as it possible. I think it will help. So I will work on Aura and Rin. Ooh, I might have one for Aura. I might make. Marge, do you have any opinions about Aura as far as like their species? Because I was thinking I might. Aura, the info broker who tends to like trade information on you.
No, I don't have an opinion on that. What they look like.
I might steal this one
Not right now.
Mike linked to me because I kind of like this. Hang on, she'll come up here in a second. One of the mem, those aquatic folks.
Yeah.
I might use that. Rin, a smuggler. Yeah, so if you end up grabbing images that you like, I was looking at I threw a picture in there for Kay rather, and it was mostly just because she looked like a harried academic out in the field, like trying to hold two or three tablets at the same time and looking annoyed about it all.
I'll put some in there.
Yeah. There was a bit of a vibe of was it Miriam from the first Indiana Jones movie? Not Miriam.
Like that Bidridge Followers?
Evie.
No. From the Indiana Jones.
Oh, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Marion.
She has that kind of like, I'm about to punch you as soon as I'm done entering in this data kind of look on her face that I kind of, it amused me. Anyway, so that's scan. Oh man, everything's coming up slow for me right now. I'm going to pull up Monster here and make sure I'm clear on that. Now, Dave, you did not. You did not pick the Xeno ability instead of the.
I did not.
Okay.
I decided that if I was going to choose a Xeno ability, it would probably be pretty much the same as Unstoppable. So.
Well, yeah, they had some really interesting stuff, but given the sort of inspiration of your Xeno, you're right. It would look a lot like.
I thought about some stuff and I thought, I want to make him a Xeno, but he'll just be the big, strong guy who can do,
right. Which is
remarkable
cool
things.
because then if we got another character that ends up being a Xeno as like a on again, off again character, whatever like that, we can look at 297. They got those nice examples of, and 296 they got nice examples of how to write up the Xeno stuff that I think is pretty good. But you're right. I mean, this guy's just sort of how Mike put it. It's why you wouldn't probably work out an entire Xeno profile for the Wookiee. He's just really big and strong and beats up people and
exactly.
Yeah, which works out. Got Chanzek.
Oh, Chanzek.
Yeah, obviously I put a picture.
It was not until the about halfway through writing the final installment that I said, "Oh, he's Herbert Lom,"
which I don't know what that is, but go for it.
The Pink Panther.
Oh God.
The chief Dreyfus. Yes. The one who's slowly driven mad by Peter Sellers' Clouseau, who always seems to get the better of him, even when he does the right thing.
That's really funny.
Which is not to say that Monster is Clouseau, but I realized I was going after that same dynamic.
That's pretty good though. I like that. And Armin. How can I like that character sketch more? I couldn't. He's so extra. He's just got extra coming. He's got extra.
As one of my friends said, he gets gaudier the more you look at it.
Yeah, very nice. And I tried to, at least with your NPCs, try to get people who are at least somewhat as gaudy as you are. The ridiculous noble with the hair across her face thing, with the cage of hair.
Oh, I'm working on that.
You are not affected by quality or tier when you bypass security measures. Really?
Not at all.
Well, okay then. That is a useful.
So, Doyce, did you ever watch Deep Space Nine?
Very little, but
or did you ever see Quark?
Oh, sure.
You know how if he needed to bypass security, he would just pull out his own set of security keys and replace what was supposed to be there? That's what I see for this, where it's just like, all right, I'm this executive right now. I'm sure he has permissions to get in here. So it's less of him being master hacker and more of him just being like, I stole everyone's passwords on the way out.
I'm just double checking here. I love that, by the way. I am 100% on board. Am I correct in saying there is a single person who can helm and that same person can rig and that's it?
Yep. I am perfectly fine with this idea.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying Bill is very valuable.
I can still roll 2 dice.
Yep. Is that well, yeah, you can roll 2 and take the worst roll, but yeah. Yes.
No. I can roll 2 dice. I can take a devil's bargain, and I can push myself.
Which is a 75% chance of not failing. Not completely. So, yeah. All right. So there we have our crew for as things stand. Oh, I guess I should probably look at the ship too. Got the menagerie. Oh, I call it the menagerie because we never did quite decide on the name of the thing, so we should probably figure that out. Fool's bargain. We stole this from the consortium.
The fast buck.
Ooh. I don't hate that. Thoughts?
I am perfectly fine with that.
I can live with that.
That's pretty good. That is quite clever.
I was about to say, if Armin really did steal it, he would have just handed it off to somebody and been like, you know what, write whatever you want in the registration. We need to get this changed out.
It can't be what it is. Yeah. I like it. The fast buck. That's good stuff. Engines 2, jump drive, we got our stuff, we got our little things, and now that okay, dark hyperspace lane map. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. I will loop back to that in a second. We got the ship map up. I think we're pretty okay with that. I also like that there's a lot of space there that we can switch things around and say, no, this is here and this is that. I did not use the labeled version of the map. Did I? Maybe I did over here. Yeah, I did. I labeled it a little bit, but there's still plenty of places for you guys to get into the map and, you know, label different rooms, solarium and things like that. So when it becomes necessary. I did also grab this thing so I could like hand draw clocks, but then I realized that the character sheets have clocks. And does the ship have a clock like button to like add clocks? I don't know if it does or not.
It should.
I'm trying to remember. Does it have like a?
Yeah. There's a clocks right above notes.
Oh, look at that. Perfect. Yep. That may be where I do like the group clocks and things like that for like mission clocks and stuff. Okay, I think that's probably a pretty good place to put mission clocks. Even if we're not on the ship, a good place to kind of track those things, I think, makes sense to me. Okay. Also have a map in there for the Land Rover. The police have an RV. All right. Any other questions, thoughts, stuff?
Now that we are done introducing everybody, I would like to change my character.
No, you may not. You're banned. No. I would prefer not to. Is there any stuff that you guys like are still thinking about, worried about, any of that kind of stuff? Want to get answers to?
Nothing that I don't think will eventually kind of work through as we actually start doing this.
Yeah. The only thing I want to touch on, which I think is kind of useful to visualize, is that the Stargates, there's 2 times when the jump drives sort of matter. I think this is a lovely, artistically speaking, this is a nice thing to do for the systems and stuff like that for getting around, because getting around through space is slow. But you can use your jump drives not only to go through the jump gates and move between systems, but also there's sort of currents of way power or they call them way lines, but like sort of there's hyperspace currents sort of through regular space in the systems. And if you can catch those things and make use of them, you can dip in and out of those currents to travel more quickly through the system. So that's, the primary routes are well documented, and then the maps that you guys have, I think are primarily documenting the dark routes, like the dark lanes inside systems, because otherwise I think that would indicate that there's gates that people don't know about for inter-system travel, and I don't think that's probably the case, because they're big and they have energy signatures and people would have found them by now. But that doesn't mean you don't have lots of, and also the gates are bloody huge because they have to be able to get the really big ships through. So it's not like they can really, it could be dangerous. They could certainly barricade a gate and put a lot of, or barricade's not the right word, blockade, a picket line, but they could blockade a gate, but that's not a wall,
I was about to say, our ship is a blockade runner, so I mean,
literally meant to get through that kind of stuff, and you can't make an impenetrable 360-degree wall or ball of ships around something that's like 10 kilometers across. I mean, you probably could, but it would be.
It's called a Dyson sphere.
It's prohibitively difficult. Okay.
Hey, would you like to come see my beryllium sphere?
Oh my God. What is that?
No interest.
I'm not interested in your spheres, Mr. Claymore.
Exactly.
God. All right. So now, the other thing that I want to point out is that the stats are a little bit, or not the stats. Your gear is a little bit interesting in that, and this is probably maybe a question I even might pose to Mike, say, like, in practice, how does this work? Because when you're going into a job, you basically just pick your load. I love this up to a point, because when you're going in, you just say, well, I'm going to go in with a medium load, and you don't have to check anything. You don't even have to say you're bringing a blaster. You just know that you've got 5 check boxes you can check for gear that you have, and you check them as you go, as you need them. So this might be one of those times when Margie's guys got a blaster. Might be one of the times when they don't, because this time you need maps. I don't know. What are you assumed? What is your load out and or gear assumed to be in like free play?
So basically,
because I couldn't really find that.
If it matters, ask yourself. Ask us. It would just be like, hey, you're going to go indulge your vice. Are you really dressed to are you really suited up like you're going to war?
I'm
or
taking
are you
power armor? Yeah.
Yeah. Or are you just going out there?
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, yeah, you probably have whatever you have on you in a light condition.
I always go to the opera in my glitter boy armor. Glitter boy, right? That's riffs, right?
That's riffs.
How? Yeah. Anyway, all right. So that's fine. I don't want it to seem as though I'm going, well, we need to make sure that this is all tricked in. I just don't want to do it wrong, because I am trying to a certain extent, deliver the experience of this game and not. He meant it as a compliment, and I really do take it as a compliment. We were talking about a game. I was talking about a couple different games I was thinking about running. This was several years ago. And he's like, he finally just stops me and he goes, dude, I don't really care what we play, because anything that we play is going to be a DOIS game, and I like DOIS games. And I'm like, okay, that's nice, but it also makes me think that from your perception is I'm just ignoring all the rules and running what I want to play anyway. Which yeah, sure, but I'm not trying to do that. I do actually want to get the rules right. And this game certainly has processes in place for how the flow of things are supposed to go. And I want to at least play that until we get it internalized, or we decide this is not necessary and we're going to ignore this going forward or something. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm getting those bits right. Okay, so with that said, we're going to do, and I wasn't going to actually do this, but then I had an idea with regards to it. And I decided I was actually going to do this. So I'm, as much as there is any actual content to this thing, I'm actually going to kind of start with the proposed setup, opening setup for the Star Dancer crew, because I got to thinking about it and I started to see how people's characters were coming together, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, I have an idea. So we're actually going to enter this play kind of in after the first part of after a job is sort of wrapping up. Okay. And we're coming down to dock on the moon of Warren. So governor's seat of the cluster, heavily urbanized, multiple layers. I don't know visually what immediately leaps out to you, but what I thought of at a couple points when it was being described was kind of how the city is portrayed in Fifth Element, because it goes down a long ways, and when you get down far enough, there's murk and pollution and like basically smog for all intents and purposes. It gets very thick and a lot just murkier and jankier, and there's a lot more stuff that could go on there unobserved because of the fact that you're basically in that nasty 1880s London fog kind of environment. And we've got
excuse me.
Drifter's piloting. Who's up in the cockpit with him? I want to get the map up here. Get the pilot. Whoa, did that wrong. Let's get back over to where we can actually see something.
Can be there.
So
no one else would be. I'll be up there.
Armin.
Sorry, am I off?
No, I heard you. I heard
Okay.
you. And we've got a couple of chairs, but Drifter's kind of up there in the front, bringing things down. So I think for the sake of just, the coolness of it, we definitely have a certain amount of vertical takeoff and landing kind of capability. So we're kind of coming straight down, into this stuff. And the rendezvous for the delivery of this that you're supposed to do is down in the lower kind of guts of the Warren. So would you park the ship down there in the gunk, or park up top on a nice secure landing pad and take lifts down to where you need to be? What's the call there? What's the thought on that?
Oh, it's actually more secure down here. I mean, people kind of casually flying by will look at your landing pad and be like, oh, that's a really nice looking ship. It's really easy to get your way into a ship just by bribing somebody, or, kind of sneaking past when the guards aren't looking. But down here, nobody's really looking for you. They actually have to set out and try to find you. Plus, I mean, if you need to get away in a hurry, it's kind of better to have some cover. And that's why this is better. Anyway, we have ventilators for breathing elsewhere.
Yeah.
The smog isn't that bad. It's fine.
I guess the other question is, what's the size or bulk or mass of the take from the job?
It's a cask about not even like about a little bit more than half a meter long, and about, I'm gonna say 15 centimeters wide. A violin case, but square. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So yeah,
sure.
And fairly heavy. But yeah, it's basically, it's got a handle. It's got handles on either end. Honestly, what is that? Let me see if I can find. Let me find this real quick. I think I could probably find it. I don't know if I can find this thing. Images. I don't even know what. Yeah, that'll work. Without it actually being too. Yeah, that'll work. Basically, like the size of the container for the stones in the Fifth Element. Not that
I can already tell that I need to go back and rewatch the Fifth Element, since it's been a number of years, and that's the second reference you've made.
Well,
it's like a steamer crate.
Yeah,
okay,
and really not that big.
Smaller than a steamer crate almost.
Yeah, take a look at the length. Well, that's really small. Wow, that's super annoying. It doesn't look that small. There's got to be a better picture than that.
It's not that small on my screen.
Oh, it came through really small mine. Anyway,
anything.
It is
the Lincoln D20 or Roll 20.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that. Oh, wait a second. That's because I'm not scrolled down to the bottom.
Yeah.
There we go. Look at that.
But about, small suitcase size, but longer and narrower, I would say.
Yeah. There's
Probably just
912 by 800 image.
Yeah, and but when I clicked on it, like it looks that big when I click on. When I click on the link that I provided, it's considerably smaller.
Objects in the rearview mirror are smaller or closer than they appear.
Not that you need to go see Fifth Element, but you always need to go see Fifth Element. I mean, there's another one that kind of gives you a sense of like scale next to a banana, or in this case, next to Gary Oldman. So.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah. So
somebody care to explain?
It's a Reddit thing. Like they show a picture of a thing and then they show a picture of it next to a banana for scale.
Like I know what that is. It's somebody care to explain is the actual dialogue from the film.
So. Oh, right. Somebody care to explain? Not 1 or 2 or 3, but 4. 4 stones. Anyway, all right.
No stones? No crates. You're just gonna start this up.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while since I watched it. Actually, I was trying to think of something that was about that right size.
I got to watch it in theaters a couple of months ago.
Really?
It was great.
That is outstanding. All right, so coming down, and I need to look at character sheets here because I feel like. So the question that I'm immediately kind of asking myself is, do we just set the ship down and fast forward this thing, or do we bother with a little bit of, we can always flashback. You know what? We'll save this for a flashback in case we need it. Did we put the ship someplace nice and secure? Did we, have somebody nearby who's going to someplace to kind of, do we have a buddy where we can dock next to his bar or whatever? Our Elephantine, I don't think our Elephantine bartender is on this, is on Warren. I'm not sure where he is or they are, but I don't think they're on Warren. And this is definitely not the bar you're being sent to. So the idea was Katani, your reclusive info broker, who I have a picture for down in the NPC section, set up a thing where it was a pretty simple thing, go out, and the main thing was they didn't want you being tracked coming into the system, and nobody exactly knows how you're pulling this off, but you at least you have the reputation of strange, but it's also, at least as far as Katani is concerned, somewhat of your part of your asset usefulness to her is the fact that you seem to be able to get around sometimes without being spotted. And they wanted this thing brought in here for that purpose. They wanted the thing brought in, sort of undercover. So pick up the package, it'll be left for you, get into the system, and then get to Warren without going through primary channels and that sort of thing.
Got it. Duck customs.
Duck the customs, get into the planet, come in someplace where customs aren't going to see you, and get down. And clearly, Drifter's pretty comfortable with going down into the shadier parts and sort of parking the ship. What's the ship? I mean, I've thrown up a couple of pictures. In general, sort of in terms of how the ship would look, but how does it look in terms of its condition? If that makes sense. Like, is it still shiny and corporate? Or is it, or not, I guess?
I would think it's well used either through well use and or we don't want it to look shiny and corporate. We want it to look like just something that you wouldn't pay any attention to.
I mean, I'm kind of going with the ship that's really right there.
We don't want it to look like it's falling apart because we do want customers to trust us.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
But we don't want it to look like it just came off the corporate lot, because that sends messages we don't want to send.
So this is kind of what I'm asking, because to a certain extent, this is sort of like, it's that opening television shot, and it's a sci-fi thing, and we want to see the ship, right? We want to know what this thing's going to look like. What is the ship that we're going to root for? So does it? I guess, and some of this speaks to how long you guys have already been together. Does it look a little bit more worn around the edges and beat up because that's how Armin got it? Because you guys have already been together for a while and does that, that way? Or you've got the ship, you maybe haven't been flying together that long, but it was quickly determined by wise heads or who are comfortable in the lower bowels of the Warren going, yeah, we need to ugly this thing up just a little bit, and you kind of rub the shine off.
Bill, is this our sleeper car?
Sleeper car?
Looks like Crab runs great.
I think so. Like the visual that I would present if I was directing this would be, there's somebody who's waiting for us to arrive. They've never seen our ship before. Into the docking area, they see this shiny, sleek-looking speedster type ship descend, and they're like, "Oh, that must be them." There's kind of an ugly, beat-up ship behind it, but that one effortlessly kind of dives beneath this one and kind of cuts in line to take its place. Clearly, whoever's at the helm is good, and much more importantly, the ship can maneuver that delicately. So whoever's watching the scene is like, that's the ship. I don't care what it looks like. I care how it flies. So
not as shiny and sleek as this one. A little bit, same basic body model, but a lot more.
Yeah, given the choice of the car wash or the oil change, we'll take the oil change.
I like that. We don't need shiny. We need ready. Anyway, we'll leave that.
The other thing that I like about that is that I'm sure that there are standardized ship types. Like the amount of engineering and knowledge that you have to put into creating a ship is not infinite. And so there's going to be like a set number of ship designs or maybe modular ships, and they're all kind of look the same. And so the exterior detailing maybe is how you kind of show off, like racing stripes type thing. But it may be that we need to get in and out of some place where we just literally unbolt the outer hull and put something new on for this particular job.
Nice.
And so we might have like the really shiny, nice
of the reavers, putting all that crap on the outside of the.
Well, you guys have racing stripes. It's just it starts at the nose and goes back about 20 meters and then inexplicably disappears because there's a different section of hull there. Picks itself back up about 20 meters further along the hull, but 10 feet higher. And it's a slightly different color racing stripe at that point. And
when you look more closely, it's not actually a racing stripe. It looks like it's scraped against something.
Yeah. I like it. All right.
So this part is Formula One. This part is Destruction Derby. That's how we roll.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Good stuff. All right. So we're coming down and we're, so the cut, because we're going to just not worry about specifically the placement of the thing and worrying about those kind of roles, is the ship coming down into the muck. Armin, are you comfortable with this whole packing down in the muck thing, or does Drifter have to kind of reassure you at all with his confidence in this thing? I'm not saying there's actually a role involved. I'm just wondering if this is inside your comfort zone.
I feel like, when we cut back to the shot of them like setting down and Drifter looking like, I'm great. Armin just sort of, they cut to the outside, see the muck, and it's just like back to him, and he sort of blanches. And it's just like, and probably when we cut back outside, he has like those plastic bags that you put over your shoes. Like when you're going through like a house showing or something like that.
Or you're like in a like a hoarder's.
You mean the booties?
You've got to go into a hoarder's room or something like that.
Uh-huh.
The little the booties. Lovely. But so you're trying to play it cool, but you're at the same time still kind of disposable. I mean, these are custom. This is custom. This is genuine simulated leather. Simulated, Memish alligator leather boots, or maybe actual leather. Who knows?
Or maybe actual Memish.
Oh God.
That implies that I have to pretend to be cool around these people.
That's fair. No, but I'm just thinking of the booty. If anybody gives you a look for the booties thing. One nice thing I like about Monster is that he seems like the kind of guy who wouldn't actually. He would just find it to be one more weird thing that people do. So, Kay, you're up in the cockpit kind of area. Why? Like, what's your? Please take this the right way as much as possible, but like, what's the draw for you being up in the cockpit, as the ship's coming down? Is it just out of sheer boredom? You like having a window?
No. I like to get a view of the topography.
Nice. Okay.
Sort of interested in the layout, so I can.
Where's Monster during this? And our Stitch, whose name is going to escape me for a while. Sion, right.
Monsters. Yeah, Monster's not as much interested in the ship landing. So, what does Monster do in his spare time with just normal
sleep? I don't know. Mumbly peg?
Oh, he's working out. He's doing the pull-ups on
the underside of like the stairs.
On the other side, on the other side of the stairs, kind of thing. Just because. What's
Sion doing during this if he's not up in the front? Is he just reading in a hammock? Coming off of a doctor's prescribed medicinal high?
Double checking the supplies for what needs to be picked up once we land.
Okay. Yeah, once you get paid. This guy, you deliver the thing, should pay. That's going to pay nicely, and it was so far easy milk run of a job. So awesome. All right, so as your ship's coming down, we're going to kind of cut away from the whole landing, debarking thing, and just immediately go to kind of coming out of a lift and into some of the lower streets. You've got rebreathers on. We catch a little bit in dialogue of some of the stuff that Drifter had been saying earlier about, it's like, we got rebreathers, we use these on planets that are specifically not even for human. It's going to be fine. The ship's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. There's nothing wrong with this place. This is, is this the kind of place that Drifter grew up?
Oh no, his family was on board ships. They're basically traveling merchants. Like
Oh, I see.
He did not grow up on a planet.
Oh, I see. But as much as you can be comfortable on a planet, you're fine with this kind of a thing.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were going to say, "Oh no, nothing this nice." I thought that's where the sentence was going.
Given it's kind of like it's down below. There's no sunlight. There's building kind of built up all around. It probably wouldn't feel all that much alien to someone who grew up shipboard. It's not like there's going to be agoraphobia or anything like that from.
Well, the nice thing about the mist is it keeps you from having the agoraphobia thing or anything like that. I need that. So we get a shot there as you guys are coming out of the mist, and actually even as the ship's coming down, kind of that panning shot of the the sci-fi cityscape that goes up, where you've got lanes for the flying hover cars above, and the buildings on top of buildings, and all that kind of stuff. place that you're supposed to go, and it's unlikely any of you guys have even been here before, is just the rather disappointingly named Taffy's Bar. I'm not even going to waste the time coming up with a good punny, clever name for the place because you've never been here before. So
that'll be a bit of a stretch.
Bloody Marys, no, any of that kind of stuff. What would be
it's
a
okay.
bit,
I enjoyed it, Dave.
What would? Oh wait, did I miss a pun?
You didn't miss anything.
You called it Taffy's Bar. I made the
comment
that would be a bit of a stretch.
Oh.
Are you pulling our leg, Dave?
Oh my God! Really, Margie? You're gonna encourage
Sweet.
him like that? Oh my God!
As long as you don't say that instead of Monster, we've got Chewie with us.
Right. Space rocks fall, everybody dies. Okay. So
hey, it's been weeks, man.
The area that you're in is actually sort of what I would think of. It's certainly not deserted. It's a pretty well populated area. It's lower income, obviously, but it definitely has a real, I say, a strong identity to it. There's a fair number of people on the streets. Again, rebreathers are everywhere. The basic face mask kind of things. There's active buildings. There's even people there's open kiosk style or open front kind of shops even along the streets where people are coming up. So they're not really bothered by the fact that that there's so much haze and murk and muck and stuff like that. There's there's people going about their business, doing their thing, all that kind of stuff. Taffy's is like a bar and grill kind of a deal. So even though it isn't really a nighttime kind of situation, it's open and doing business is probably more for the grill part than anything else at this point.
It's where late night workers come when they get off.
Yeah, late night workers come in.
Yeah, what time is it local?
Like mid-afternoon. It's kind of hard to tell down here. Down here, it's kind of dusk, but it's definitely not like a middle of the night kind of deal. But if you think of like the street scenes and stuff from Blade Runner, take your pick, either one. That level of sort of street level activity and things like that, you're certainly seeing that kind of thing as you go into the place. The instructions were, the back booth, or just ask at the bar, kind of thing. Probably just ask at the bar, for the guy's name. Ask for Mr. Smith, because I just have to do one shout out to the ubiquitous Mr. Smith contact dude from every Shadowrun game I've ever run.
You mean Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Smith. It's always one of those. So who goes up and checks in with the bartender? And what are the rest of you guys doing?
I assume I'm carrying the goods.
You certainly could be. Yeah. I mean, you're the.
No, I'll walk up to the bar.
Oh, you walk up to the bar? Okay. I mean, I can't think of a better bartender for this than the dude from the original Star Wars movie, like the grizzled old, jowly, tired-looking. I am so through with this bullshit bartender. Why are you 12 and ordering? And ordering milk, kind of thing. And he just kind of he comes over after a second. He's talking to some other guys at the bar. That are in like a green and black livery.
Okay.
I want to say liveries might be kind of overstating it, but uniform in the green and black that would indicate like, well, okay, so every planet has like system cops, like your basic like local cops. Green and black, unsurprisingly, since it's the Warren, is the colors for House Malkaith, which is the house of the governor. That and it would have to be. You're going to see Malkaith forces on a lot of planets, but obviously it's the guys that are going to be here on Warren, since this is sort of the governor's seat. They're definitely going to be the system cops that are local. Okay, so there's a couple of those guys, like 3 of them at the bar, and then there's another table that has like 2 guys that are also in that same livery, although their helmets are off. They're eating they're eating. One of them's having, they're eating. They've got like your basic unidentifiable meat stick, a lot
of protein on a stick.
Yeah, protein on a stick. Kebabs are a thing. Kebabs are a popular, albeit highly unhygienic thing. A few other folks, but yeah, you talk about after hours workers as the expectation that Kay had when she came in here, and she's right. It's just it looks like it's a cop bar.
How nice.
Yeah. So these guys are either on break or coming off shift or about to go on shift or, something. It's not the only guys in the place, but certainly a lot of them. The guy's like, yeah. Yes. Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he reserved, he kind of gestures. And there's a couple, you don't actually originally see it because the place isn't particularly well lit. There's a couple of, it's a step past booth to like alcove that are like in the back. And you didn't really immediately see them because of shadow. It'd be easy to think that they're just curtain walls. But he goes, okay. Yeah, back there. And you only really kind of figure out what he's pointing at when you see that there's an alcove there that the curtains are pulled back because nobody's using it. And there's another one that's pulled up and you can kind of see it like a line underneath of light. So somebody's in there, okay. The alcove is occupado kind of thing, and kind of gestures that way. Play it cool. Do the head motion to kind of motion everybody that way. Does anybody not go? Does anybody like hang back? Hit on the cops? Hang out at the bar? Or is everyone going to go in there and
hit cops now?
No.
We hit cops now?
They are very fun. They are usually armed, but they don't like to shoot.
Actually, no, we have to get paid first. Come on.
Get paid first, then hit cops.
Okay.
Then drink, then hit cops.
I'll follow Kay over to the
okay.
curtain booth.
So, Armin, tell me about this guy's pretty well dressed. Tell me about the giveaway tell that this guy's got that he's not really like an upward bound mover and shaker, regardless of whether or not and you don't know what kind of corporate or what kind of environment he's in, whether it's corporate or criminal or governmental or whatever. He's pretty well dressed. He's, well coiffed, but what's the giveaway that he's not really going to be like a power player? Just at a glance.
At a glance, let's see. His equivalent Rolex is a knockoff, and
like dated, like the style is dated, or not the watch, but just like any of his attire or anything like that, or
yeah, I feel like it's not bespoke.
Oh,
those clothes weren't made for him.
Nice, but off the rack. probably expensive, but off the rack. So either he can't do bespoke, or he doesn't know that that's you've got to do bespoke, or really, what's the point in wearing clothes?
You really need to talk. You really need to talk to your girl. She made a dress for you that looks just like you bought it from the store.
Oh yes, exactly. He's also pretty scruffy. Looks like he hasn't shaved in a couple days, and not in the carefully. I gotta go look at a picture of Armin again, but I'm pretty sure that was the incredibly carefully coiffed 5 o'clock shadow that takes more time to actually groom. Yes. That's the 5 o'clock shadow that takes more time to actually groom than just shaving would, if I'm looking at Armin's picture. This guy just hasn't shaved in a while. Oh, that's a good picture for... What am I looking at, Margie, this picture that you put up?
That's Ray.
That's Ray's... That's
Kay.
Kay? Bay Kay. That's the hair. Oh, I like
Ray,
the work clothes, though.
Ray.
That is some crazy ass hair. I like it.
Like it?
I like that combined with the work clothes. That is a punk rock archaeologist, is what that is. I like it. All right, so yeah, he's a little scruffy. He is also. You don't really know what's going on with the shirt. It's very like. It's got kind of a okay. Monster picks up on this pretty much immediately when he walks into the thing, because you're looking at the thing like, this is the thing, he hasn't shaved, well, the thing, and his shirt's a mess and he hasn't shaved, and Monster kind of shoulders his way into the area right in front of the booth, kind of where you can sort of stand before you get sat down, and he kind of sniffs and he's like, someone died. And that's about when it twigs to Armin that like this guy's throat is cut through pretty close to the back vertebrae, and he's bled down all down through his shirt, and has been this way for, it looks, well, I don't know. You have to tell me some more about, what's everybody doing?
Walking away. It's like
he's looking at us like, I don't know what somebody died, right? And he turns around and just starts
just out the door.
I am gone. So that's Armin's first response there before the curtain even gets pulled shut. Is that I'm gonna ask the doctor. Hey, Stitch,
I've not eaten.
So, Sion, what do you do? There's a dead guy in the booth. Looks recently dead. Blood's a little shiny.
I would probably be able to give a thought on that too.
So
I think it would be useful to take a closer look.
Okay. And there's a couple different ways we can kind of look at this. Obviously, doctor's useful for the scoundrel study. Are you monsters like, where are you going? We haven't eaten. Drifter, what are you doing?
I'm going to, as surreptitiously as I can, kind of peek out and see what the cops are looking at.
So you since you're saying peek out, are you tugging the curtain a little like more shut than it would have been when Monster came through?
Anything to avoid actually causing motion which draws the eye, so no.
Well, yeah, but I mean, as you guys step in, it's not really that unusual to like tug it.
Okay, then if it would look ordinary, then yeah.
So you're doing that just as Armin kind of steps back out and steps back out to the main area. I will get back around to Armin in just a second. I think Kay was a little bit closer to this thing. So, I mean, obviously, Sion's got the background. They got the doctor thing. But study certainly makes sense for studying the scene, and you've studied a lot of scenes of past violence, although usually it's a lot more past than this. But you are certainly welcome to, you know, study and see what you can learn about this thing. If that's what you're thinking about, taking a look and see what the heck's going on. Was that where you were headed with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So study, good for person, document, item, this case, an area. Gathering information is useful, and there's actually sort of questions at the bottom of your sheet that you can ask as sort of part of a gather information, which is sort of what you're doing, I think. Can I look at your character?
Those are just really good recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of they're just. It's not like assess a situation where you've got to like pick off the list. There's just some general ideas there and stuff like that. But why don't so? Margie breaks the seal on the champagne and heads for a skill check here. And
Yes.
right out of the bat, so we're going to break this down. The way the dice mechanic works is you roll and just look at whatever the best die roll was. You have a 1 in study, and then just below that, all the skills and stuff, they kind of list off the various ways you can get bonus dice. You can push yourself, take 2 stress to get an extra dice, or alternately, but not at the same time, take a devil's bargain of some kind. Somebody could help. They can assist, and they take a stress, but they give you an extra dice. You can spend a gambit, which I should note. Also, the ship should have 3, thanks in part to Margie. And I'll just get the ship sheet up here. Do we have?
We have 3 now.
We have 3 now. Mike's all over it. I don't have to worry about that. So you could spend a gambit. That'll get you another one. So there's a couple different ways that you could, and anybody who feels like they would also assist with that, just in terms of what probably happened. Sion's thing will be a little bit different role, unless you guys just want to munge the whole thing together. In which case, it might be more maybe Margie assists or Kay assisting the doctor, since she's got Sion starting off with a little bit more dice. If you're more concerned with the guy, I would definitely go the way of starting off with doctor.
Okay.
Kind of going that way, and you're kind of assist very easily. So Margie, do you want to assist and take the 1 stress and give Sion an extra die?
We'll take that stress.
We'll take that stress. So you can check that off over. There's a little stress bar. Yeah, lovely. There's several different ways you can get rid of the stress. If the stress caps out, it's actually a lot like getting potential in like a Powered by the Apocalypse game. Once you hit the max, then you level up and you pick up a trauma. So trying to stay under that, obviously good. So just kind of, but it's useful in this case. Okay, so that gives Sion 2 dice for doctor, an extra dice for the help. Does anyone else feel like they want to assist in this thing, or feel like they could assist? I know that sort of Drifter was talking about doing something else there, so that's fine too. Or I guess Monster could also, if he was so inclined. Someone died. So you can. So
things get interesting.
Sion, if you're comfortable with 3 dice, that's fine. You can push yourself, and that could be as simple as going to have to get your face up close to the dead guy, or any of a number of other things that would theoretically cause you some stress. We could certainly, I think I could probably come up with the devil's bargain, probably, if I thought about it at all.
I guess, given that this is the first roll, I'm unsure.
So what you're looking at? You know what I could do? At some point in time, I shared this, but there's a. So let's break this down a little bit. So I want you to think like a masks game. the mechanics basically work like this. If the best, you roll all your dice, but you don't add them up or anything like that. You just look at the best one. If it's a 1, 2, or 3, works out like, things go poorly. If it's a 4 or 5, it's that mixed success. And if it's a 6, it's a success with no compromises, anything like that. If you can manage to get 2 6s on the same roll, it's a crit. Obviously, the odds of those 6s or double 6s, things like that, get higher the more dice you've got on the table. But with as few as 2 dice, you've got about a 70% chance of something coming up that's not a fail. Okay, and then that numbers the opportunity for failure kind of dwindles, and the opportunity success gets higher as you go. I've got a little text chart somewhere that kind of breaks that down, and I probably can't immediately find it because I know where it is. It's over in the Blades in the Dark section, which is not where I had it. I don't see that there's any way I could probably drag that thing into this thing and just drop it. Maybe. I don't know what this is going to do, so. But like with 3 dice, your chance of success at some level is actually higher than 80%. At 4 dice, it gets, there's only about a 6% chance of failure. It gets pretty dwindly once you get up around 4 dice. So being able to muster 4 dice is very good. It gives you less than 10% chance that you're gonna get nothing but a 3. Failure is still possible. Mike was regaling me with a story earlier from an actual play that the author of Blades in the Dark was doing for a Blades in the Dark game, where the players had managed to muster up double digits in dice, and they didn't roll higher than a 3. So, yeah, that's got to hurt, right? Everybody on the team was assisting. It was a group roll, blah, blah, blah. The roll was bad enough that one guy immediately stressed out and took trauma. It's a hot mess. So it's not like you can't fail, but 2 is a pretty good 75% chance of success. 3 gets very good. 4 is, quite good. So it's really kind of, what you're comfortable with. The odds of the 4 or 5 results are always going to be pretty good, though. So really depends on how comfortable you're going to be. Boy, it didn't like me trying to upload that file. I'll tell you what.
Sorry.
Didn't like that at all. I have to jump back in there. Anyway, so what do you think? You've got assists from Margie, plus your own 2 dice will give you a 3, which is more than enough. And maybe hedge your bets. You don't need to push yourself to pick up stress or anything like that. A devil's bargain is me saying something like, well, I'll give you an extra dice, but no matter what happens, succeed or fail, this is good. This other thing that you don't know about is going to happen or something. So that's kind of
the police rush in, or
well, yeah, or the devil's bargain is something. If you're interested, the devil's bargain, and this is not true unless you accept the devil's bargain, but the devil's bargain is somebody put a sensor on this thing, so if the body's disturbed, somebody's going to know. There's your devil's bargain. That may not be worth the dice to you. That's fine.
I mean, I'm good just going at it with 3.
Okay, that's very cool.
Mike is saying they're waving his hands desperately in horror.
No.
I think
failure is fun.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Thanks.
So, I
think this sounds like a 3 action.
So yeah, I think it sounds. And you're, certainly. So 6 is obviously pretty straightforward. You find out what's going on. It is. I'm going to say. So let's walk through this real quick. You on your character sheet, click on doctor, like the actual label doctor. Okay.
Yeah.
It should ask you then if you have any bonus dice, and you will say that you have 1 bonus dice.
It asks me to put in input value.
So +1.
+1.
Risky, controlled, desperate.
All right. So it is a risky action. You are not in a totally controlled situation. The potential for somebody to notice that something is weird is certainly there. I don't know how my mind works, but for me, the first thing I think of when I think of a controlled situation is a controlled situation where I'm shooting somebody is I'm sniping from a half a mile away. The potential blowback on me is relatively minor unless things go wildly awry. So you're not really in that kind of a controlled situation. So it's pretty straightforward. It's risky. You're pretty what I think of as sort of your standard RPG situation. So it's a risky thing, could go either way. And then the last thing it should give you is what's the last question it asks you?
Do I then hit submit?
Yep. You pick risky and hit submit, and then it will ask you your
standard, limited, great, extreme.
Yep, and that is the potential result that you have from this. And this is going to be standard. So typically, most skill checks will kind of default to that risky situation with a standard result. That's what I think of as sort of RPG default. Extreme would be like I've got all kinds of advantages here, or not extreme. Whatever the next higher one is. Extreme is like I do an autopsy so good that I get the DNA of the guy who killed him and his home address. You're not really in that kind of a situation.
And, and his mother's maiden name.
Yeah, your mother's maiden name and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty far out there. So you just pick standard as the potential result, and
one bonus dice.
And the bonus dice question comes at the end. Interesting. Okay. And there. Ooh, look at that. Very nice. So, you got your result up there on the chat. That's just a very pretty dice result thing there. No, the only thing we really care about there is the fact that you got the 6, which means that you got a unmitigated success, no potential real downsides right there, and you're kind of, checking the thing out and looking things over. What does this look like? How comfortable are you doing impromptu barroom autopsies at the drop of a hat? And how are you doing this? Like, what does it look like? You have the ability here to like check off find med kit and say that you've got that with you. It does require 2 checks, but that still keeps you pretty lightly loaded, kind of a thing. Do you have your med kit with you? Or would you not? And this is basically you like flipping a penknife out of your pocket and kind of like poking at the wound.
If you had the find med kit at the beginning, you also would have gotten a die.
Oh, really? Is that what the fine one does?
Fine items add a die to.
Oh, we'll just have you check doing regular med kit because we don't need to retcon the thing.
No, we don't. That's a good roll.
Yeah. But if you see on your character sheet, you can just say, yeah, I've got my med kit with me. And you just check a couple boxes and that kind of assume that's one of the things that you kind of had with you. Alternately, you might just not, and you're kind of like making do with the fact that, maybe there's a martini in front of, was it a space martini? A star-tini. There's a star-tini in front of it. God. You're welcome, Dave. You've done it to me now. So it might be you pulling the plastic sword out of the olive and using that if you don't have the stuff with you. What do you think? What's this look like for you?
I think I would probably have some medical supply on me, so
we know that you probably have at least a syringe.
Given the antics of the crew normally,
you just kind of keep it's good to have a med kit around. No
Band-Aid in your pocket and a syringe up your arm. No,
oh, wow.
And it being in a bar is nothing new.
Okay, so
given monsters' tendencies.
So you don't seem particularly taken back to at least be treating somebody in the bar and stuff. Interesting. Okay. All right. So this is actually I'm going to get back to you since this is going to be take at least a few seconds here to kind of get a sense of things. I'll get the details to you in just a second while we ask about a few other folks. So Armin just did a complete nope about turn and went right back out through the curtains. And right afterwards, Drifter kind of twitched some shut and is kind of like is looking out through the crack there. Armin, what are you doing? Because, like I said, cop bar. So there's no real way to turn that kind of thing off. Even if they're off duty, it's a little bit weird that everybody filed in and then you immediately filed back out. So at least a couple of them are kind of glancing your way. The bartender's kind of looking your way like, oh, there's a guy coming back out to order drinks. The cops are at least like, you should have dropped off their radar. You immediately pop back on their radar. That makes their radar nervous because that's how cops work. So what are you doing?
Well,
we'll close that stitch here for a second. I mean, are you just going beeline for the door or what?
I imagine there is just like that quick little fight or flight mentality going on. It's just like, okay, I am 20 feet from the door. I am surrounded by people. Nobody else is following me.
5 of them have uniforms.
And I can't fly the ship by myself. So...
I'm impressed that he thought of that early. Like, honestly.
So it's going up to the bar.
Okay.
And it's just going to be like talking to the bartender, be like, "Hey, we need some drinks." It's like, fishing into pockets, like, can you break 100 or can you break 100? Just buy a round for everybody.
Wow. Okay. What are you doing with that? Are you trying to kind of get on everybody's good side a little bit?
You know what? If they're drunk, they're not paying attention to me.
That's fair. I think I'm gonna err on the side of understanding English and say that's sort of a consort role to see how it's taken.
I am perfectly fine with that.
I kind of figured you would be. Does that sound about right? Because the only other thing I could think of would be sway, and I feel like that's more of a one-on-one kind of a deal. Consort seems.
No, I think consort would be fine here.
Just look at it.
I'm going to push early and often.
Let me look at this. Connections from your heritage, background, friends. It doesn't matter to you, I know, because the skills are the same rating.
Mm-hmm.
Resources, information, people, or places. I'm actually going to say this is sway because you're swaying with charm, logic, deception, disguise, changing attitudes or behavior with manipulation or seduction. Yeah, that's totally a sway. So we'll call it a sway, but again, stats are about the same either way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And thank you. Yep. Thank you, James, for pointing that out. Rules say that if you get a 6 on a risky roll, add a gambit to the pool if you did not use one on the initial roll. So we get another gambit. We're up to 4.
I put it in.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Anytime you spot a rule that I missed, sweet, merciful crap, please call it out or take care of it because I will miss this stuff. I'm scrambling. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Armin, you have got a sway of 2. You said you were going to push early and often. Are you pushing yourself?
I am pushing.
Okay, so that gives us up to 3. I don't know necessarily that you would have anybody that could assist you, but if somebody sees a way that they could do that, like Monster storming back out saying, "Did I hear free drinks?" That totally works. If anybody's inclined to do that. Otherwise, we'll probably sit pretty on 3 dice. Or you could spend a gambit to get you up to 4.
I feel good on 3.
Okay. Let's go ahead and give it a roll.
All right.
And again, I think this is still going to be risky and standard when it gets to all of that kind of stuff because the results. I suppose if I was being a little bit more strict about it, but no alarms have really been risen, I could theoretically say the effect was somewhat limited since not everybody's going to immediately become your buddy here. What do you think about that?
You know what? Can I push to desperate for standard effect?
So desperate.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm going to say yes. First of all, Secondly, I want to make sure that we're walking through this so that everybody understands what just happened. So there's dials for all this, for all these skill checks, right? I've said that the skill is basically a risky maneuver. There's sort of three levels to this. Like completely controlled. It's risky. It's a typical kind of thing. It's desperate because I'm pushing myself or I'm at a disadvantage or anything like that. There's times when I'm going to say the situation is so bad you're starting out at desperate. What Mike is proposing is that since I'm saying the effect is limited because he's talking to like try to get 6 people in the bar who are suspicious, well, 5 people in the bar who are suspicious cops to be friendly towards him, that the effect on them is going to be somewhat limited by just buying them a round of drinks since the very action itself is a little bit suspicious. Mike would like a better result than that, so he wants to push that limited result back up to standard by sort of trading it. One goes down and the other one goes up. I'd rather have a desperate kind of action with a standard result if I do it. I am totally down with that. Does everybody kind of understand what I just said, or did my explanation make it worse?
It's go big or go home.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I'm gonna go home in a body bag.
I'm gonna push, but it also means that if things go bad, they're gonna go more bad.
Mm-hmm. Also, things go bad quicker because there's only 2 results where something doesn't go horribly bad.
Yeah.
And speaking of, does everyone mind if I spend a gambit?
If you're gonna push, I would definitely say spend a gambit because you're gonna want things to go.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And then
now before you roll, I just want to say that probably the consequences of the mixed result is going to be you're going to obviously they're going to kind of warm up to you, but at least one of the cops is going to find this a little bit suspicious and probably act on it to kind of see what the heck's up with you because you immediately showed up, popped back out, buying rounds for everybody. He just wants to learn a little bit more about you, so there's going to be he's going to get nosy. On a 3, there's going to be one of those meaningful looks between a couple of the cops where they decide that they need to ask you a few questions, and possibly something else might happen.
Yes.
So,
would you say, if I am well dressed in my fine clothes, that might also help that? Because they might just push it off as, oh, it's one of those guild people showing off.
There's kind of 2 ways I could go with this, so I think it might be a wash because, yeah, they could think that, but they might also think somebody acting like this in a place like this is like that's like 2 checks on the bingo card of suspicious like activity. So I think it's kind of a 6 of one, half dozen of the other, tie goes to the dealer sort of thing. So I think we're 4 dice, desperate position, standard result.
Yeah. Also, for everybody else, also I mark XP no matter what happens here.
Oh, look at that, a 6. Very nice. And it was what I think is hilarious about that is the very first dice. So you could have theoretically done this without any help whatsoever, but it's just as well.
So where does the XP come from?
Anytime you roll desperate roll, if you look down at the bottom, every time you roll a desperate action, mark XP to that action's attribute.
So mark XP in that action's attribute. Can you track
resolve.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So you get the little checkbox up there on resolve. What does that? Okay. I'm going to pause here. And I apologize, guys, because I'm trying to remember all of this stuff.
Fine.
Yeah.
When I max out that XP bar, I can put a pip into any action.
Into any of the resolve actions.
Correct.
Right. Okay, cool. But you can also end up with so you can end up with like you theoretically have 4 separate XP tracks.
Correct.
Okay, I'm a little confused because I thought that if you used a gambit, you didn't.
Gambits,
you can't get more gambits.
He didn't get a gambit back. He got a pip of XP for the fact that he was doing a desperate roll. Basically, if you find yourself in a desperate position, it's kind of like rolling a 6. It is. It's kind of like rolling that failure result in masks, where if you fail, the consolation is at least I got XP. This way is I'm in a desperate position. This sucks because if things go bad, they're going to go really bad. But the consolation is no matter what happens, I get XP. And if you look at your character sheet, Marty, I'm not going to have you try and look at his, but if you look at your character sheet, there's, in the same way you've got your stress track on your character sheet, there's little trackers.
I saw where it was.
Yeah.
I just was confusing it because of one of the
Gambit versus the XP and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the special powers one of mine has.
Yeah, yours is slightly different in that the way it works with anybody else is if you can get a 6 on a standard roll, a risky roll, that generates a gambit. You generate a gambit whether or not you spend a gambit on the roll and for both risky and desperate. So your ability to generate gambits is, you're a gambit generating engine.
You're just lucky.
You're just lucky.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. All right. So sway there. Drinks on everybody, and the response, apparently what you've got here is a group of guys who are definitely coming off shift. None of them are like grousing about this because they've got to order the small beer because they got to be on shift in a half an hour or something like that. These guys are coming off. They're going to order, the good stuff. None of them are backslapping you or anything like that, but it starts up conversation with each other. There's a couple of raised, when the bartender brings the drinks around, the guys they're either gonna immediately raise the glass that they already have, or anything like that. One of them will make some comments like, I don't know why, or someone will make some comment about, to kind of lead into your thing that you sort of implied there about, some sort of crazy corporate guy. I don't need to understand why, but if you're gonna do it, we're not gonna complain. A little tap on, a little salute tap up on the brim, that kind of thing. Bartender asks what you're getting for your table.
What's strong?
Oh, well, yeah. So he'll come up with like sort of the equivalent of Jägermeister. Tip of the hat to Dave. Yeah, Jägermeister is one of those drinks where Monster would actually be pretty thrilled with the flavor just right out of the box, but then would immediately go
chili sauce. Chili sauce would be good.
Or jelly beans.
Oh.
Monster actually came up in our Masks game yesterday because we have an outsider who's playing like an alien, and I asked what she had for breakfast in the morning, what she had, first of all, what dry cereal did you like the best? And she was like Lucky Charms or something like that. And then, okay, what do you mix with it that everybody on Earth looks at you and like you are clearly not from around here, which was cranberry juice. And I was like, and that immediately took me to, let me tell you about this alien that we've got in this game coming up. Anyway, so this is what's happening. That's what's happening in the actual bar and or grill. Are you ordering any food too, or just the drinks?
Just the drinks.
Just the drinks.
Because you don't want to know what actually, you will want to know what I'm going to do with the drinks when I get back.
How flammable is Jägermeister? So Drifter. Armin clearly has the immediate cops hand in hand. Do you want to kind of take stock of the situation yourself and just see, because this is obviously throwing up every warning light you can think of. Panels are lit. So are you kind of keeping an eye out here and making sure nothing goes sideways or something doesn't get added to the mix, or is it more like, okay, Armin's got this in hand, I'm going to duck back inside the booth kind of a thing?
I think duck back inside. My real goal was make sure that we're not being, make sure to avoid detection. Part of that was, see if we are being looked at or paid attention to. But now that that's covered, let's go back inside and take a look.
Yeah. Let me, I'll look at something here real quick. I need to reorganize these cards because they're in the wrong order for me, but I will get to that later. Yeah, in theory, yeah, nothing immediate. The rolls have been too good. So yeah, you can duck back in there. Everything looks basically on the up and up, or at least it seems to be going your way. Back over to Scion and Kay. As I already mentioned, Scion, deep cut, single cut, through the throat. The only thing that probably didn't make this an absolutely perfect, like, line right through the flesh is that they went in deep enough that the blade skipped off of the vertebrae, so the blade was slightly pulled out of alignment, so the wound is a little bit jagged. It's a single strike. He was sitting at the time, and this is Kay. He's got it was tell me about an archaeological site that you found where you had the opportunity to learn surprising things about blood spray patterns from hand delivered wounds, not from missile weapons, but from hand weapons.
Actually, the interesting thing there is it wasn't archaeological in the sense, but it was an archaeological site that was the scene of a battle between two sets of treasure hunters.
Oh, okay.
And they went at it, went at each other with the trowels, and the trowels are very sharp so that you can actually get into the dirt. And so the splatter and the blood was kind of fascinating, and did destroy just this one wonderful little piece of artwork, because blood is hard to get out.
Ruins the tapestry. Yeah. Margie, I would like to apologize for making the horrible assumption that my describing a throat wound would bother you, Miss Razor Sharp Trowels. My apologies for making assumptions. All right, so while Sion's kind of looking at the wound and examining that kind of thing, Kay is sitting back about sort of a step back behind him, and actually pulls up that aforementioned Startini plastic sword kind of thing, and kind of extends the right arm across your body and down, and sort of swings it slowly. You're still back 3 feet from him, but slowly through the where it would pass through the throat on a slightly sort of, I want to say about a 30-degree upward arc, or upward trajectory through the throat area, and that follows what you kind of realize now looking at it is the spray pattern on the, I'm going to say damask. Is that the right, or I maybe my emphasis might be on the wrong syllable, but the sort of the cloth, there isn't really a good word for cloth wallpaper, but I've seen this in booths and stuff like that, the nicer ones and stuff. But there's sort of this brocaded cloth kind of stuff that's sort of up on the walls, and it's dark enough and patterned enough that you don't immediately see that the spray is there, but it clearly is. So Kay's kind of muttering to herself would have been about my height, probably right-handed, doing a backhand slash low and up. So it was a left-hand draw, and just, oh yeah, they would have drawn. This was a slash right from the draw. They took it right out of the sheath and just cut right from there. So surprise strike right out of the, what do they call that, Iatsu? You wouldn't be saying that. I'm just trying to remember myself personally if that's what it is.
Yeah, jutsu. Yeah.
Yeah, jutsu. Like the draw straight from the sheath, kind of a strike. And the blood spray right like that. It doesn't look, based on the other stuff that Monster was smelling, Sion, that he moved from his booth based on the condition of the booth seats. So he died where he was sitting, did not get up, was not set there. He was sitting in the booth waiting, and somebody basically stepped inside and did that. You're guessing within the last half hour or so.
Are we expecting that I mean, is the payment for this small and portable?
Probably would have been a digital transfer. I mean, I don't say probable. It would have been a digital transfer, especially given this guy's attire. It's looking like he's looking more. He's definitely not academic. He's probably corporate because he's not. He's either not dressed nicely enough to be criminal, or he's not dressed nice but cheaply enough. Like it isn't a shiny suit, like sort of a nice looking but shiny suit. So he's in between the two ranges that you tend to see a criminal syndicate person, if they're the kind of person who wears a suit. He might be government, but your guess would be corporate. Government wouldn't have. This is a nice off the rack suit. It's probably too nice for government pay given where this guy probably ranks. So you're guessing corporate. So yeah, and given that it's corporate, he probably would have done, a basic digital transfer. You feel free to go through his pockets and look for loose change, however, if you're so inclined. Because there might be a cred stick on there or something.
I don't want to.
I don't know if it would occur to you.
I actually don't want to touch him.
Yeah, that's fair.
To be honest.
It's okay. We can see what we can hack on the ship.
What about Cian? Are you going through the pockets or anything else, or is there anything else you want to find out about this guy?
I think it could be useful to look through his pockets.
All right. Mr. Johnson is actually Wyndham Orcutt. Orcutt, sorry. Yeah, Orcutt. So Wyndham, spelled like it sounds, I guess, or spelled however you like. Orcutt, O-R-C-U-T-T. I mean, I don't know if this would necessarily occur to you, but so probably pocket that. He's got a range of sort of mid-level. He's got no black platinum, cred stick, anything like that. But he's got an ID. He's got an ID card, handheld digital tablet / communication device. His ID probably functions as credit access for his personal accounts or anything like that. But yeah, that's all on him. So that's all you really find though. He isn't carrying a untraceable cred stick or anything like that. So whatever he was planning.
So I say to the doc, leave it.
I mean, you've got the name. That's probably all you really need. Do you leave it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was.
Yeah. Well, you're just checking to see if there's any, and
looking for information.
Having the guy's name is probably a good thing. The fact that he brought the fact that he showed up to something like this with just his ID, hi, I'm this ID, I work for this corporation kind of thing is you can easily look me up on the white page. It just shows that his probably isn't normally his gig.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna.
You're not gonna loot the body? That's fair.
Loot the body when there's a room full of cops next door.
I'll reach over and
Slightly
take a sip of his drink.
inebriated cops.
Oh, you take a sip.
But
yeah, monster, are you looting the body? No, I'll take the drink. It's very sweet. It's kind of only sweet. Like all it is the alcohol
Like
and the
no
sugar.
booze.
All it is really the alcohol and the sugar, and a lot of sugar.
I'm not a drinker.
I like that. Boring.
Yes. Bored now.
Okay, Armin. You have your bottle of Jaeger. You're heading back. You are. You know, it's funny in games like this where I immediately kind of go to make a perception roll. And I don't think that's necessarily relevant, so I'm not doing that. But I feel it necessary to comment on that mindset. Make a perception roll. Tell you what you need. Well, here's what you notice. Somebody is landing either landing like some kind of air car or something like that in the street outside the bar. And
I believe
the reaction from the people in the street is like that's annoying enough and unusual enough that they're getting out of the way. Do you want more information on that other than just the fact that somebody's landing outside? If so, I can probably need to do like a study or something like that to get more information about the reactions of the people outside.
Would you like to know more?
Would you like to know more?
No, I'd like to spritz this guy with some of the Jaeger and then be like, all right, time to go.
Okay, so Armin kind of slips back in. He's got a tray with like 6. This is a particularly Warren thing. This particular planet, it gets picked up in a couple of different places. It's definitely not a spacer bar kind of thing, so it's definitely a grounder kind of thing. But all of the they're basically shot glasses, except the bottoms are round. They're called tumbles. They're poured and then handed to you, and you can't set them down until they're empty because they will tip over. I tell you this simply as a cultural thing. I'm just filling it in here. So basically, they just look like 6 little glass domes on the tray, and he's got this bottle of high proof alcohol that you like kind of shake it out a little bit, just shake out some over the guy or something.
Basically, it's just gonna be like, all right, splash some on the guy really quick. Put the what'd you call it again?
Jägermeister.
Tumbles.
Oh, the tumbles.
No, the tumble. Put the tumbles in front of him so that they tumble. Looks like the guy drunk himself to death, or not to death, but it looks like the guy drunk himself to unconsciousness. Somebody else will have to tell that he's dead.
I see.
So.
Okay.
And it's more like, yeah, let's go.
We're leaving now.
Well, we still have the stuff that we were going to give to him.
Which must be worth something.
It's worth something to somebody, and that somebody is me at the moment.
Sorry, I lost you there. While the last thing I heard you say was, let's go while we still have something.
Well, we still have the stuff we were delivering to him.
Okay.
And then Margie said, well, it's worth something to somebody. And I said, yeah, that somebody right now is me until we can find somebody else to sell it to.
I love it. That's great. Okay, so I'm just looking at this one. I want to know what kind of evidence you're leaving behind, Armin. So I'm going to have you roll a skulk for me. Because you are misdirecting, basically.
I am.
So you're starting out with nothing. And I want to point out to anybody who's curious that you can always, of course, start out with nothing and just stay with nothing. You can roll 2 dice and take the worst roll, which has considerably worse than a 50% chance of success. And you can't crit, so that's another thing. So it doesn't matter if you get lucky and roll 2 6s, you're still not going to crit, but that's out there. So what are you going to sit on 2 and take the worst, or what are you going to do?
Well, I'll ask you this first. What's the threat to me if I fail?
Yeah. The threat is going to be that so there's a couple different things I can see that are going wrong, that potentially going wrong here with regards to the evidence left behind. You've handled the bottle. Potentially there's maybe some trace DNA evidence from you guys poking around. People are going to remember your faces, that sort of thing. But mostly it's about how this is handled and how suspicious it immediately looks. So mostly it's a question of like, yeah, we pulled a print and it's this dude from the Counters Guild, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
They will. So I'd say probably the risk there is that they're going to be immediately asking about the people that were in the booth that walked out and the guy was found dead a couple minutes later, kind of deal. 4 to 5 is like, they've got evidence pointing at somebody that, or they have a name to go with those people immediately. 1 to 3 is like all points bulletin, probably immediately going out because it's going to be discovered pretty quickly, kind of a deal. So, and that would probably be along the lines of the dude just bought an expensive bottle of hooch, was in there for 10 seconds, and everybody walked back out again. He's going to immediately go to the booth and see what the hell. So they find out, and they find out pretty quickly. So that's the risk down at the end for the full failure kind of a deal.
Who would like to help? And if we could, maybe we just do a group action.
I am interested in this and would like to learn more. I did read about the group actions, but remind me how the mechanics work.
Everybody who participates rolls, and whoever leads it takes 1 stress for every 1 to 3 result, including their own.
Okay.
So basically, you open up so many more dice to be rolled.
But like any of the ones where people are clear, I kind of love this as a mechanic because you always want to feel like, everyone's going to pool their dice and help open up the door, but the wizard's not helping. The wizard is not actually helping roll especially when he rolls like a 3 on his strength check. He's actually getting in the way more than he's helping. And this kind of reflects that, where you get a lot more dice, but the guys that don't help are really not helping. And I kind of like that.
Yep.
And I like the fact that I love the fact that Armin's taking stress from this because it's a stressful situation.
Mm-hmm. So everybody who feels like it, go ahead and skulk really quick.
So if you have
I will jump in on that, as we were trying to keep things concealed earlier. So yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. If you have skulk, so I'm gonna go around. So I heard monster, I heard drifter. Is anybody else helping with the covering up of evidence and the misdirection of?
I'm the skulkiest, I think.
So yeah, well yeah, Armin's.
I have at least a Pippin skulk.
Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, but Armin is clearly leading this one off. So so
it doesn't matter what we're adding.
I am the stress battery for this one.
When you roll, you get to roll your stat that absolutely. Like you get to all of your dice come in. It isn't like you're just adding a dice to his roll or anything like that. So the fact that you're skulky is great because you're bringing in potentially more dice. But the consequences, the immediately felt consequences of how much stress he takes is going to fall on Armin's shoulders because it's sort of his plan. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So
you get to take all the credit for the success, but you don't. But the immediate consequences don't fall on.
Well, the other part of it is too. With doing like assisting, everybody who assists takes stress.
And this is
with leading a group action, you're piling all that stress into one person.
I am 100%.
I'm liking this plan.
Yeah. I am liking this plan. This plan is good. All right. So I guess we could have everybody individually roll, or we can just kind of pull up all the dice and have Armin do it all as one thing.
It matters.
Oh, does it?
It does, because every person we check to see whether or not they rolled a 1 through 3.
Right, but it's the 1 through 3 only matters in terms of the consequences you take, right?
No.
Oh.
That's how much stress I take.
Right. No, I get that. I get that. But the one,
Not-
let me put it another way. You're rolling nothing, but Kay's got a dice. Monster's got a dice. I don't know.
I got one.
He's got a dice, so that's 2 dice. Drifter's got. I'm sorry, the character sheets
I
are
got
coming
one.
over. So
All
that's got a dice. I'm saying you could just roll all 3 dice. The results are all going to be in one place. It still tells us whether or not there was a 3. They don't need to individually hit the roll the roll result thing, do they? Or does it matter?
Not really.
We don't know.
for
We don't
that
need. We don't need to know whose dice are the ones causing you. Although it would be funnier because then we know who's not helping.
No, true enough, but
I mean, it's up to you. How would you prefer?
The only other thing that matters for that is
Mm.
my 2 dice matter to separate those out.
Okay, so let's figure out what you're. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I was about to.
Are you doing them as
Yeah.
untrained, or are you going to push and like
Yeah.
use a gambit and stuff to get to real dice?
No, I'll take it.
I don't know what that means.
I'm going to take my chances.
Oh, so you're going to go with the 2 untrained dice and take the worst roll? Okay. All right.
Yeah, so is this risky?
This is risky, but I would say it's a standard result. I mean, potentially we've got some good stuff happening here. So we look at your thing, and
Got it. I don't take stress for myself.
nice. So we have at least a 4. I should have asked this ahead of time. Does anybody want to spend a gambit on this? The gambits are there to spend, and anybody can take them. It's just going to be an extra die to roll. If somebody wants to spend a gambit as part of this whole thing, should have thrown it at Armin, but he wanted to do the untrained thing, which is fine. Does anybody else want?
if we want more dice, I can also roll.
Oh, do you have?
Yeah, I have Skulk.
You have Skulk? All right. Well,
Yeah, I have all of the S's.
I'm sorry. I'm confused again. What?
It's a group action. Everybody can help. All the dice are in as one die roll.
Okay, because okay. We have Skulk. We click Skulk.
Yeah.
Yep.
The reason I'm asking if anybody wants to use a gambit is since it's sort of a single die roll, we can really kind of spend a gambit on it. But I wanted, if you guys want to throw dice in, you certainly can. Does that make sense?
Okay, so we just click Skulk.
Yep. You just click Skulk, and it's gonna just say risky standard. And oh my God, nobody's helping.
Oh
We're
no,
helping,
took my dot off. Sorry, I clicked it in the wrong.
No.
Risky.
Standard. Gan, Monster, Scion, and oh my God.
You're very helpful.
Wow.
I'm glad to be helping.
Oh my God. That's
impossible.
That is
No, it isn't.
That's
it's mathematically possible.
No. I'm there. I'm just like.
I mean, you've explained this to me, Margie. That was a series of 1 in 6 chances. That's really pretty.
That is amazing. That's a better word for it. How's that?
Let's just say it's memorable. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stress. Okay. Real quick, so think about this for a second because I want to hear about this because we did get a 4. So it's a mixed result. There's going to be obviously some stuff. It doesn't. I'm not looking for Keystone Cops. It doesn't need to be a comedy of errors or incompetence. But I'm curious how. First of all, what you guys were sort of doing, and either how you were getting each other's way, or just how it didn't end up really, like the opposite of helping. It doesn't actually have to make it worse. I want to hear about what you were doing was causing Armin undue stress in what was already, because clearly what you were doing was stressing him out.
I was thinking that all this alcohol in here, as was pointed out, looks bad. So Drifter was going to grab one of the tumbles, fill it, drink it on the way out, and balance it on his palm to kind of show off.
Oh, on the way out of the...
And have fun.
I see. All right. So
what he thinks looks nonchalant and cool actually looks suspicious.
And weirdly memorable, and like, cops are going to notice people look like they're about to walk in the street and cause problems. All right. I'll be right back. Everybody else think about your stuff about how this is like Armin's like, no, don't, that's not helping. All right.
What is wrong with you people? Have you never covered up a murder before?
That's awesome. All right.
No.
Cover up murder? No. Commit murder? Yes.
You would do this because
they're doing a group effort, and any bad rolls cause the leader of the group stress. 1, 1, 2, 2. The only one who rolled well is the guy with literally no skill in the ability. And Mike's like, have you guys never covered up a murder before? And Dave's character is like playing like a Jaeger from Girl Genius, like, cover up murder? Why would you do this? Love you, Buck.
I do appreciate the statistical unlikelihood of the guy with 0 dice in the skill was the one who succeeded.
Yep. And on dice that are geared to make sure that you fail, which is awesome. Like take the worst roll kind of thing is just bad. Oh, I got to see these images that people are sharing. I'm helping. Oh, that's so good. Oh my God, this is great. Random thing. The last comment. The commander, the Navy there thing from.
Yes. Pirates.
Somebody it was I think I saw this on Tumblr recently. I was like, the only thing that guy did wrong was being a Jane Austen love interest in a action adventure movie based on a Disney theme park ride. Like, there's nothing wrong with him except for the fact that he's in the wrong genre.
He's a tragic figure
throughout the entire, at least certainly the first movie, but even through the rest of them. But yeah, he's basically.
I'm gonna say I like that in general because I like characters who don't make bad decisions. I like characters who make decisions that looked right at the time.
Yep.
Give me opportunities for that.
Yep. They looked like the right thing to do. Or they were the right decision for my genre. Actually, that takes us back to James Holden again. I did what I thought was the right thing. It turned out to be a bad thing. For whatever. Yeah. The book thing, the dynamic is very much, I'm like, oh, I see. It's the rogue who's working as a cop and the paladin who's working as a smuggler. Or whatever. Ice guy. Anyway. All right. So, Armin. Poor Armin. Okay, so quick rundown. We had Drifters showing off a little bit too much, trying to look casual. Monster. I mean, you could simply answer, well, I am monster. But how are you stressing Armin out with your helping?
That's a great question.
I kind of want Seance to be like, well, I'm going to make the wound a lot messier so that it's not as obvious that it was. No, don't. Oh God, you're getting blood everywhere. It's on your clothes. It's on my clothes. Why? No.
Well, I mean, if Sion's going to be, kind of,
I'm not saying
making the wound look.
I'm not. No, that was just me. That was just me randomly, tossing it out there as an idea. But
having him just sitting there looking helpless just doesn't seem right. He needs to look like he was, ready to fight or something. So, clenching his fists and looking around for something he can use. Putting the little sword in his hand so that he looks like he was at least fighting back.
Oh boy. Okay. I mean, I kind of want you to break the Jaeger bottle just to put the broken neck in his hand, but that probably would draw attention a bit over the top. Sion, how are you helping in a way that causes Armin stress?
Well, I had been thinking of acting like I'm drunk, but I think it's more amusing to be arranging the body to look more inebriated.
So this more moving him around, basically, fiddling with the crime scene in ways that are going to disagree with some of the other evidence and stuff like that. I am down with that. What about Kay? Or Bay?
I'm actually just complaining a little bit too loudly about the waste of good booze. What are you spilling that for?
I didn't waste mine.
When you guys, Armin, are you leaving the booze or are you walking out with it?
I'm walking away with it stowed.
So kind of just tucked away, kind of. Monster, are you still carrying the case?
Oh, yes. They want Monster to carry case. Monster carries case.
All right. So you're coming out of the booth. Armin is sort of tucking away the bottle, and I forget I'm on a shorter cord now. I forgot to charge my headset, so I'm now on a cord. I need a good time to Google. It doesn't matter how much I sit around looking at pictures and stuff like that for this kind of stuff. I invariably need something that I don't have an image for, like just instantly. Too big.
It is 11:30, or it is 10:30. So, do you need the image?
I want something that looks kind of right. This will work. Because we're gonna stop right about here. You do see the thing landing out in the street. Thought maybe it might be cop car, might be a regular vehicle, maybe the corporate vehicle is going to come and pick this guy up. It is sort of this thing. Minus the top barrel, but definitely an APC with a gun on the top. So sort of think, actually the best way I can think of it is, the rolling APC from Aliens? Like that, but take the wheels off kind of, or the wheels like flip out and like sort of deploy, like kind of fold out and deploy as it's coming down. But basically that with hovercraft capability. It is not System Cops. It is not House Malkaith colors or heraldry on it. It is a 51st Legion armored transport. There is a galaxy of shouldn't be here coming off of this thing as it's dropping down into the street outside of the bar.
Now seems like a good time to go.
And we will stop right there, since it is, as Mike pointed out, 10:30.
I am perfectly happy that we chose gain potency when you scramble or helm to avoid capture.
Yeah, you're going to have a bit of a but yeah, that's actually going to work out really well, because you basically, you sort of treat yourself like the next bigger group or next most powerful group and stuff like that when you're going up against different things. And 51st Legion, no joke. They have no sense of humor of which we are aware. So there you go. All right.
No sense of humor that we are aware of.
So that was all. There's no real like end of session stuff except we take stock of sort of the XP stuff. Right? Am I right when I say that?
Yes.
I think I'm right when I say that. So real quick, we're just gonna. I think this will be pretty quick. We didn't. And I'm gonna get to starting this in alphabetical order.
Do you want to do the ship first?
Oh, what do we do with the ship? Oh, do I have to? Do we have to worry about maintenance stuff?
No, only in between jobs.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So what do we do with the ship?
Execute success.
The bottom right-hand corner.
Oh, mark XP, playbook event. Oh, look at that. At the end of each session, for each item marked below, mark 1 XP. Execute a successful transport or smuggling operation. I will give you an XP for that because you did. I did make you bring a thing here. Granted, it was a little bit Deus Ex Space Machina, but it worked. Contend with challenges above your current station. Not yet. Not yet. Soon. Bolster your crew's reputation and develop a new one. Not yet. Express the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew. I think essential nature has been conveyed. At least an essential nature of the crew. In the sense that, you move
drunkards who don't know how to hide a body.
You're smuggling space truckers who are maybe a little bit better at moving stuff than hiding the body. Yeah, possibly. Does that seem to line up? I feel like I got a good sense of the tone of the crew, and I think that's kind of where I'm saying yes to. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Yeah.
So ship got XP. I forgot that the ship got XP. Thank you for reminding me.
Ship gets XP because as a group,
the crew can level up. Right.
The crew can level up, and we can spend advances to get more parts,
which is very cool. You might, yes, level up, get shot at, so you can finally have beds, or whatever that happens to be. Okay, so for Armin, every time you roll a desperate action, mark XP, or did that. You addressed a tough challenge with deception or influence. Yes, I'm going to say yeah, with the drink thing. So mark an XP for that. You express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background.
I feel like I did my beliefs, and also my background.
Yeah, the corporate background. I think that whole statement is an XP. Like if you hit any of that, you get an XP.
Actually, it says above, if you hit it multiple times.
Tell me the beliefs thing.
The beliefs was, no guys, we don't care about anything else. We're just going to sell whatever's in this box. I don't care about that guy.
I'm not solving it. I'm not solving a murder. I'm not solving a mystery. We're going to get paid. Yes. I think that's an important thing to learn about Armin coming out, so sure. Go ahead and check, and you can check that twice. Go ahead. You struggled with issues from your vice or traumas? No. I have to give you traumas first. And we haven't gotten to the point where we use vices yet. So there you go. All right. Closing that up and taking a look at K, which will slowly open eventually. Oh my God. I don't know why the character sheets are taking so long to open. You addressed a tough challenge with charm or audacity. Not yet.
We were pretty audacious.
This is my. I will apologize to Margie for this. I don't think give you the opportunity for the social interaction. I think something like that would probably require. Although I have to. Honestly, I'm going to give you an XP just because of it's like, oh, don't waste the booze loud enough to be heard out there in a way that's doing nothing but causing mic stress is worth a point. Expressing your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. I'm going to at least give you a point for background because we got to see your the whole examining the crime scene sort of thing as it was expressed, and we learned more. I think this is important.
Trials. That's the only reason you're giving it to me is because I.
Well, no, we learned more about what the archaeological digs were like. I'm like, tell me about how you saw this in an archaeological dig. And so it wasn't the dig, it was the people fighting over the dig. And that tells us more about the world, and I think that's important and cool.
Certainly the world that Kay lives in.
Yeah, the world that Kay lives in, and that's really, really good. And we don't have any Vice or Traumas thing, so but still 2 XP. Yay.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Drifter. I have the sneaking suspicion Bill's gone through, and like I have answers for all this thing. We haven't had the speeder flare thing yet, I don't think.
Yeah, the only 2 things I can think of would be suggesting where to park and giving reasons why for background, and then showing off at the bar on our way out.
I'm going to give you, between the heritage and background, I'm going to give you 2 XP because, like you say, between like saying no, the ships are going to be fine, like closer down here, and just being comfortable with this area and this, you seem the most. I mean, Monster's comfortable in this by virtue of not really worrying about anything. Like, oh, this place is safe, the castle is safe, the palace is safe, this street is safe, everything is safe if you're me, kind of thing. You've got reasons for it that I think express, your background, I think, and that is totally cool. Speaking of Monster, I like that these aren't all exactly the same, which is cool. You addressed a tough challenge with force or threats. No.
Not really.
No. You express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background.
I'll give an argument for wanting the body to be presentable by his standards.
Fighting and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll give you. We'll do a pick for that for sure. That's cool. There's gonna be lots of opportunities. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of stuff going on next time too. But yeah, take a ding or a tick or whatever you want to call it for XP on that. Expressing beliefs, drives, heritage, background thing. And Doc, let's get you up here. You addressed a tough challenge with insight or compassion. I will go with insight at least. Examining the body, all that kind of stuff. So that's a point. And I think that probably also speaks to the like the medical background and, being familiar with these kinds of wounds. Certainly I've had the opportunity of dealing with injuries in a bar. I'm definitely bringing a med pack because I'm traveling with Monster. Yeah, we got a good picture of, to a certain extent, your dynamic with the group, which is good and cool. I like it. Now, I'm not, just so you know, going forward, I'm not going to be in the habit of like sort of personally reviewing all this stuff. I trust you guys. We're fine. I do not need to police this crap. I might say, hey, tell me about one of the things you got XP for. Like, what was a cool thing? What did you think was like really cool that was worth XP? I'm not going to argue that thing.
But I think as we're doing it, it's useful to, kind of
call it out
through it just so you understand. Yeah, so you kind of.
Yeah, and if somebody's like, dude, when you're going through and getting XP, you have to take a point for X. By all means, tell people that. Say those things because we should be doing that. I'm not doing this for policing purposes. This is me teaching myself the game. There are a lot of different learning styles, and conveniently, I am an instructional designer because my learning style, I used to think it was from, hey, I read books. That's not actually true. I learn by telling somebody else about a thing. So I take it in, but it isn't until I tell it to somebody else that it actually makes sense to me, which makes GMing really good after I've run the game once or a couple times. Having to explain a thing makes it finally makes sense, which is cool. But that's one of the reasons I'm kind of going through all this stuff very methodically because I won't really know it until I do that. So anyway, there you go. Cool. You were going to say something, James. Sorry. Yes, I stepped on that.
So I was looking back at my inspiration and also prompted by the fact that my character's pronunciation changed like 3 times throughout the course of the game.
Scion, Sion, so on, etc.
I think having it pronounced more sun.
Sun, okay.
Would be easier for you and
everyone else.
Literally, yeah.
And everyone else, and slightly more accurate to what I'm drawing off of.
Okay, cool. I don't even know what the inspiration is, so that's kind of fun for me too.
That's fine. It's obscure.
I'm just going to put that in the alias field. I'm just going to put in sun in quotation marks in the alias field just so I remember it.
Okay.
More than anything else. And that's totally cool. All right. And that's it. Session 1. Nobody exploded and died, either in or out of game. And I was kind of worried about the out of game part.
Someone died.
Okay. Nobody in the game.
Nobody important.
I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that somebody was taking notes and actually wrote down that.
I was taking notes. And
I figured you would be, but thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to say thanks anyway. Appreciate that, especially since I'm like grabbing the NPC names off of a list and scrambling about and stuff like that. There are a lot of moving pieces to this that I'm sure will all make sense. I'm really, first of all, can we all just say thanks to Mike for knowing some of this stuff already, and having already done it? Because you're not only reminding stuff, and people are calling out, and other also calling out James, reminding like I should have gotten a gambit for this, that kind of stuff. Awesome. But Mike asking for the more advanced mechanics, like the group roll. I encourage everybody to now go back and look at the group roll to see, like, to read the actual rules for it. But you know how it's different than an aid where everybody helps and takes stress versus piling literally all of the stress on Mike, as opposed to, because here's the thing, mechanically the same amount of stress was taken, because if you guys had helped, you would have each given him a die and you each would have taken the stress, and instead you each gave him a die and gave that stress to him.
I will also bring up I will also bring up on my end the mechanical benefit to me.
Of which? The group thing?
Yes.
Which is what?
So, I now have 6 stress. I cannot overindulge.
That's true. So I don't know if you guys have looked at the Vice thing, but it's it's very, very interesting, because you use your Vice and then you roll like a single. It's basically a single die, right?
It is based on the number of traumas you have.
All right. So you roll possibly one die, possibly more dice or whatever for the getting rid of the stress thing. It's just one die, isn't it?
No, it's your lowest
right.
attribute.
You roll your lowest attribute. What do you do if you have nothing in the attribute?
Then you roll 2 and take the lowest.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Vice is. I think that's interesting. Drifter's not very good at Vice. It doesn't help as much. Because he's got like an actual stat that's a nothing. Anyway,
I am bad at. I am bad at.
Do you have a thing with no?
I have absolutely nothing in prowess.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. That may be true for everybody. Maybe at the beginning that you don't have. You have at least one stat you don't have.
No, I have something in everything.
Nice.
No, I have no insight.
I'm shocked. I am shocked by the fact that monsters have any insight.
The first time I got a resolve, though.
What about K-Bay?
No, I have one insight.
And like you have something in it. You have at least one pip in everything, in all 3 of the stats. Is that?
I've one pip in one thing and in a sight, and then I have two in prowess and
2 in resolve.
Prowess and 2 doubles in resolve.
Nice. Yeah, so that's cool. So you roll and then you subtract that whatever you get on the roll away from the amount of stress. If you reduce more stress, if you roll higher than the amount of stress that you have, that's when the overindulge thing kicks in and stuff, which I think is brilliant, because you don't want it gives you this weird balancing act of I want to be stressed out enough for it to be like good for me to do. And you don't end up with people like just going and like, I got to go out and party no matter what, and they've got like 2 stress.
Oh,
very few people would want to do that.
So, and here's the thing: every downtime, if one of your actions isn't to indulge your vice, you take more stress.
If you have a trauma, if you don't have a trauma, it doesn't do anything.
Well, you always take it equal to the number of traumas you have, we just start out with 0, so we don't have to worry about it.
Right. So until you get trauma, you can safely not indulge, or not indulge your vice, which is good because that gives you the best chance of sort of controlling things as you go on. But yeah, you're right. You're in a situation right now where if you get to decompress at the downtime. So now mechanical. I'm just going to ask one more question. I swear to God, I'll let you guys go. Getting back to the ship, do we treat that like a job in the sense of going through those mechanics, or no?
I wouldn't do it, just because. Okay,
I don't think so either. But I was just
let's think about it this way. If we did, and we rolled our engage, or an engagement roll, and we got a critical, we would pass the first obstacle in that particular job entirely.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know what the obstacle after that would be.
Right. Well, I've got a few thoughts on that. But...
So
anyway, all right.
Should we have rolled an engagement at the beginning? Maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe mechanically. I mean, story-wise, it's the end of a job that we never saw, kind of thing. So this is all just kind of open play, which is fine because I'd rather just do for at least a while in this opening thing here, kind of be doing open play just to engage the basic mechanics, and then worry about the doing a job mechanics once we sort of have our heads around the basics. So.
Yeah.
6 of one, half dozen of the other. As long as everybody's having fun, I consider that to be a win, and we'll make sure that we'll worry about having the right category of fun later, if that's cool with everybody. I'd rather worry about the fun thing first, and I like the little bit of story that we got out of this, so yay. All right, cool.
Yay.
Sounds good.
Same time next week. We all good? Yeah, Mike, you sound like you had a question or a thing.
I do. I just want to know if you're still recording.
Am I? That's a good question. And the answer